Welcome to Information Society Group number 8. In this video, we presume Papua New Guinea as a developing information society. Information is vital for the development and existence of society, which is the creation of mankind and is made up of them and the institutions. Papua New Guinea is a developing information society. To define Papua New Guinea, PNG, as an information society right away could be irrelevant or exaggeration, as the term information society describes the status of society completely based on knowledge and ideas. Also, PNG is still transiting towards the stage of society as indicated by its numerous rural-based population, about 80 to 85% based in rural areas. We will discuss information society in the context of PNG, assuming that PNG is still developing information society. We will employ the 5 approaches of Frank Webster in the course of this video. Our objective is to identify whether PNG is qualified or developing information society, to figure out which approach of the 5 it lacks, and finally to assess how the requirements of being an information society can be met in PNG. We will further discuss on the 5 approaches of Webster, starting with technology approach, spatial approach, economy approach, occupational approach, cultural approach, our viewpoints, and then a conclusion in the following videos.
Be emphasizing on one of those 5 approaches, which is the technology approach through PNG context and perspective. However, before I proceed on to my point of presentation, I'll give a brief explanation on what is information society. Information society is a society where there is a creation, sharing, distribution, and use of information through online platforms which fast track the process, and as a result there's much more progressive developments take place. So information is for the people's benefits, developments, and as well as countries' developments and so coming back to the approach, that is technology approach through PNG context and perspective. The arrival of digital in PNG in 2007 enable mobile phones technology to become readily and available widespread for consumers use. And as a result, there are more than 2.8 million mobile communication subscribers in the country. However, coming to the point, PNG is still a developing information society. There are some examples that signals us that PNG is not an informational-based society, and these are uneven distribution of network, coverages per provinces, and the effectiveness shows that small provinces without road links use 2G network, and those with road links access 3G and 4G network. Apart from mobile phone devices, there are desktop devices and PCs, which are also important. However, these devices are seldom used in rural areas due to lack of skills, electricity, and internet services. Except the ones in the main centers access proper ICT services and utilize them for information rights. And this has come to the conclusion that PNG can be in the first or second stage or type of the new society called the information society.
Spatially, as seen earlier on or discussed by my friends, the ISP service is altered by the microwave towers and digital satellite discs, as well as the submarine cables, shrinks the space and time, making advantage minority of the total population, more viable in the use and transmission of information. The privileged group of people in the urban areas, especially the main centers and other peripheral provinces linked by roads, enjoy the great wealth of sharing and receiving of information within and abroad PNG. For instance, the government departments, business houses, the individuals are safe from spending thousands of kina traveling overseas for their business or for lesser meetings. It is also positive that some few individuals in the rural population, rural areas and provinces that does not have road links connecting other provinces due to geographical barriers, at least benefit from the 2G networks provided by the digital technology in PNG. The beneficiaries of 2G networks enjoy the least effective network privileges. Albeit this ineffectiveness at present, this technology relieve the locals from high cost of travel to towns and save more time for their domestic activities. However, the fallibility of this ineffective service denied the locals from using computers in retrieving information for overseas or connecting with experts for improving their lives, including agricultural activities, which is essential and key component economic activity in the rural areas of PNG.
I'll be basing my presentation on one of the 5 approaches, which is the economic approach, but through PNG context and perspective. The definition of economic approach can be used to describe phrase the post-industrial economy that is increasingly based on information-related activities. Examples are white-collar jobs include company management, lawyers, accountants, journalism, and teachers, etc. All these occupations undergoes the economic with information, and people in centers access or rely on information and activities basically to improve their lives, self-developments, and progress in their lives. However, PNG seems to be developing and not a qualified information-based society. These are some of the areas it lacks, such as majority of the people living in rural areas do not access or rely mostly on information-led activities. There are some opportunities of rural areas to access economic with information. And coming back to PNG context and perspective, PNG economic system is based on agriculture and used to drive this effort, which is used to drive this economic, and as a result, information work is limited in this regard.
From the occupational approach, it is clearly seen that only few people are employed with the information job. However, from a country like Papua New Guinea, not most of the people are involved with the information job. Most of them are doing what we call the traditional jobs. The traditional jobs include jobs like lawyers and teachers. With the information job, it will include journalists, web designers, and reporters. Looking at this, the number of the people involved in the information job and the number of people involved with the traditional jobs are not even. With that, the implication of information society is too broad, but it's happening in progress with the use of technology. From the cultural approach, it is clearly seen that PNG is now moving into a new society, a society that is totally different from what our grandparents and our parents have lived in. Technology is now affecting every lives, the way in which we communicate with each other and the way in which we do business. Individuals are now copying what they are seeing on television, in their phones, and what they are hearing on radio. They are copying the dressing and the hairstyles of their famous actors or their famous musicians. As a result, it creates a new culture. With that, the idea of PNG as a developing information society can be denoted or recommended by the people.
We can meet the requirement of being an information-based society in many different ways by dealing with the characteristics that drives to be an information-based society. To be an information-based society, it is all about communicating and mastering information. According to analysis, we came to realize that there are 5 approaches, but in our country, there are 3 approaches that are lacking, which are economic, occupational, and spiritual approaches to meet the requirement of being an information-based society. Firstly, economic approach. In economic world of information, activities can be assessed by using information as an economic resource. People use information more intensively in their activities as consumers to inform their choices between different products, to explore their entitlements to public services, and to take greater control over their own lives. They also use information as citizens to exercise their civil rights and responsibilities. Secondly, the occupational approach can be assessed by achieving an information-based society when the mass occupation is found in information work. Increasing of manufacturing employment and the rise of services sector employment is interpreted as the increase of manual job. Conceptualize the information society in terms of changes in occupational structure and consider the preponderance of information work in occupations to have created a new social order characterized by shifting from blue-collar manual jobs to white-collar jobs. Thirdly, the spatial approach is all about networks and information flows. And the information society is defined by the presence of networks. It can be accessed by increasing the line of thinking on information society, which builds around the notion of space, although not completely detached from the economic and social aspects. The impact of information networks on the organization of space and time has been the focal point Papua New Guinea should put into consideration, and action should take place. Access to information and increased communication capacity brings major benefit to our society. New business opportunity emerge as opportunities for education. Access to ICT can broaden opportunities for capacity building and increase workforce productivity.
To conclude on this presentation, PNG is categorized as one of the developing information society. It is moving at a slow pace to become an information society. This assessment is made according to the 5 approaches of Webster. Technology and spatial approach incorrectly defines its new description to PNG society. For example, comparing the urban dwellers and the rural dwellers. People living in the cities and towns are information rich than the people living in the remote areas of PNG. This creates a digital divide between the 2 groups of people in PNG. Occupation and economic approaches depend on each other for growth of technology. Only the privileged benefit from these two approaches. Today's society revolves in the flow of information. Therefore, Papua New Guineans all have to be educated to have the knowledge and skills to move forward with the latest technology.